Welcome back to NY Flight Jets Talk. On this stream, we are joined by none other than someone who was actually just at the Senior Bowl, got to talk to Coach Olbrich a little, Mr. Jeremy from Jets Chaos. Jeremy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little tired. I just flew to North Carolina from Mobile, so I'm just settling back into my parents' house. You can see it looks like kind of like an old person's house. Lots of pictures of their grandkids and kids all around me. But no, I'm having a good time. I'm having a great trip, and the Senior Bowl is fantastic.
Yeah, it looked like a great time. Obviously, we saw some shorts posted on your channel along with the Talking Jets channel. Looking forward to your show, Reality Check, with Matt coming on Monday at 3 o'clock, I think it is, from what I remember.
Thursdays.
Thursdays. We already have NY Jets super fan in here. We love you, Jeremy.
I
Much
love the Air Jets.
appreciated. Um, so who were some guys that really caught your eye at the Senior Bowl?
Well, definitely, we were talking about it earlier before the show, and I know everybody's been asking about Fuaga, and we've said it a lot, and we've kind of put it out there. He did not disappoint. He was absolutely dominant. What I liked about him was that he was as dominant pass blocking as he was run blocking. So there's a little bit of concern that people had that people were more on him for like run blocking, but were had a little bit of concern for the pass blocking. But that didn't show up in Mobile. He was the full tackle and did everything really well. I think that we were really excited about Tyler Guyton because there's a guy that we love this film, and he wasn't ranked as high. He's not talked about as highly as the top guys are, but he was absolutely fantastic, and he stood up to the best of the best. The best seniors in the country, the best edges, best linemen, and really showed well for himself. And I think he actually probably pushed himself into the tail end of the first round.
Yeah, Guyton, great film. Going back to your point you made about Fawaga, if Fashanu's on the board, could you see the Jets passing on Fashanu and drafting Fawaga?
It's hard to read the minds of the different scouts, right? People look for different things,
Yes.
see different things. I would say the if that happens, I would think it would be based on schemes, right? And zone blocking scheme and
Yes.
something that they see that, maybe they have more evidence that he's ready for that. I would be surprised though. I think although I think Fashanu is much closer to the rest of the pack than Joe Alt is, I still wouldn't go as far as taking Fashanu out of my top two. But would I be absolutely shocked or blown away by it? No. I would be surprised. I'd say, "Oh, he actually likes Froggo better than." I'd be surprised by it, but I wouldn't
Yes.
be absolutely floored or shocked because this kid is work. His kid is earning all of this attention. He really is. He's showing up. He showed up this week, and he really hasn't failed at any level or anything he's done. So there's no reason to be down on him.
I think Fawaga's a great prospect, but personally, if Olu's there, you gotta take him. I think we're considered very lucky if he's available when we're on the clock. I think you just gotta take him. I mean, stud out of Penn State.
Yeah.
Fawaga's talented, but they're saying he's gonna climb up draft boards. I can still see him being available though, personally, in that 13 to 15 kind of range. I don't know. I
Yeah.
unless someone takes unless the Jets take a chance on him, I don't know. I mean, Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, he had the Jets passing on Fashanu, taking Fawaga, and Fashanu falling to 13. I don't know, but for me, I think something to look out for is if one of the quarterbacks fall. I think the Jets might try to trade down if someone's going to try to come up and get a quarterback, but I don't see one of those guys falling.
Yeah, I agree. My thought on the matter, at least if I was the GM of a team that was going to trade up with the Jets, if one of those quarterbacks was to slip, or even it might not even be those top three quarterbacks, but depending on their confidence level that he makes it to them, if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would be all over
Mhm.
JJ McCarthy. I think he
Ooh,
is
I like that.
Yeah, he's absolutely a perfect fit for that team. I'll actually be a little nervous as a Jet fan, AFC team. The Steelers getting JJ McCarthy is potentially very, very dangerous because this is a quarterback that's being overlooked because of the hype of the other quarterbacks. But if you watch his film, he's very special. His stats aren't as high because he was in a run first system. Michigan is a running football
Yes.
team. If you stuck JJ McCarthy in Oregon, the numbers would be astronomical. So I do believe that if one of those quarterbacks slip, what might be best for us is to trade down, whether it's 14 to 15 to 16, because I do think we have a lot of good tackles to choose from. And I agree with you. Taking Fuago at 10 feels like, as much as I like him, and if he turns out to be a great tackle, it doesn't matter. But from right now where I stand at 10, that's kind of low. Like that's aggressive. Like I think he's more of a guy that should go in the, like you were saying, I think you hit it right on the ball, like somewhere in the 13 to 18 range.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like the point you made about McCarthy. I personally think he fits well in that Arthur Smith kind of offense. I think he would be a solid quarterback for that team. I don't know if he'd come in and start right away though. That's in
Mm.
the air, but NY Jets super fan. Jeremy, who were your favorite wide receivers at the Senior Bowl?
Well, the guy I fell in love with more than any other player, and I liked his name, but I really had never I haven't watched a ton of his film, but Roman Wilson was absolutely superb. He and it's really funny. I happened to record it because on the second day we had found out that we get all the all 22 on every rep, so we stopped
Yeah.
recording plays. But for some reason, I said, "Oh, look at Roman Wilson lined up," and I think it was against Isaiah Davis. So I think that's his last name. I really wanted to see it because that's like a cornerback that Dom C really likes. So for some reason, I put my camera on. I wanted to see it close up because my camera was zoomed in is better than my eyes. So that's what happens when you get old. So I zoomed in and I followed the play, and it looked, from the angle I caught it on video, it looked like the ball was 5 yards, over his head, wrong side of his body. Like there's no way. And on my camera, I watched him go up with one hand and spin his body around and and pull that ball down and make one of the most outstanding catches, maybe the best catch I've ever seen in person. Like I don't know if I could say I've ever seen somebody make a catch like that in person in front of my real eye, live like that. And the fact that it happened to be the one play out of all the reps that I recorded just blew me away.
Yeah, he's very, very talented out of Michigan. I think he'll be available in the third personally. I think that's someone the Jets could look at, but someone else I'm interested in the third round is Sax Zinter out of Michigan. I think he's a very, very solid guard, someone to kind of keep your eye on as he got hurt, so he might fall the third, fourth round. Who are the quarterbacks that you like from maybe like a day three standpoint for the Jets?
Okay. Just to throw in, I love your Zinter.
Thank you.
That's a great call. It's a great pull. He is potentially going to be their third round. So unless everybody else, because if we don't want everyone to find out, but he would be an outstanding prospect. Also, it gives us the flexibility to move AVT outside, and there's your guy from when we finally get Lincoln Tomlinson out of here. So it's a great pull. But the quarterbacks, as far as day three quarterbacks, I know a lot of people like Pratt from Tulane.
I'm not too big on Pratt,
Yeah,
honestly.
yep, I agree. I agree. I'm not tremendously big on him. I think if Penix was to fall, that I don't know how far Penix is going to fall. That's
Uh,
the real big mystery. But his stock is going down really fast. So if you told me we can get him on day three, I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't want him in the third round. But if you told, which is
mm,
crazy. Some people say I'm nuts, right? How do you not take him in
I,
the
I
third
would
round?
take him in the third round.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the only thing that scares me with him is the injuries, but other than that, he's legit. Personally, out of all the quarterbacks, though, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be the top quarterback in this class. I don't know if Caleb's NFL ready personally. Um, Watching Drake May kind of reminds me of Mitch Trubisky. Not too big on May. I think Daniels though, a Heisman winner, just a very very solid quarterback from LSU.
There's nothing not to love about Jaden Daniels. He makes all the throws, fantastic athlete, super, super fast, and he has great touch too on his passes.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, as a matter
Er,
of fact, I think Jaden Daniels and McCarthy are my favorite too. My favorite two
hmm,
quarterbacks in the draft.
wow. So I have a question.
Yeah.
Who would you take second overall pick, JJ McCarthy or Drake May?
Ooh. That's the kind of question where it makes you or breaks you. In my heart, I really believe JJ McCarthy is going to be the guy, but I think it has to be the right system. I love what you said, playing for the right kind of coach, the right kind of system. I love him on Pittsburgh. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
think Pittsburgh Steelers and JJ McCarthy is just lights out, probably maybe the best quarterback in the class. Like, he'd have the best results long term. I gotta say, as a GM, sorry about that, you are
No.
absolutely doomed if you get that wrong. Like if you take JJ McCarthy over Drake May, you're doomed. I wouldn't use the second pick. Like, in other words, if I was going to take JJ McCarthy, I would trade down on that second pick to do it. There's no way I take McCarthy with that second pick.
Okay, yeah. I was
I'm,
just I was just joking.
yeah, I'm a value guy. So the way I would do it, at least I'd have the argument of I would trade down and say I'm taking JJ McCarthy and this extra draft capital versus Drake May. But if I can't, no one's going to trade up with me, or for whatever reason, I think I might, as a GM, understand why you have to take Drake May.
I like that. I like that. Great analysis. Our boy Gator coming in, who, if you didn't notice, made me this sick logo and this sick background. Gator, much love from me and everyone
And
in the
me,
Jets community.
yeah.
Uh, Jeremy, I speak for all Jets fans when I say I love you.
Well, thank you, Gator. I love your work. I'll tell you that much. You are just, I mean, one of the best I've seen, and just the ability to create things to make people laugh. Like not only the technical skill and it's the skill with the technology to make it happen so quickly, but also just the brilliance and the sense of humor. I don't know if you know this, Connor, but one of the things the videos he made about me, the one where he has Coach Ulbrich say, you look really cute in those blue jeans. That joke is actually from a concert from a comedian. You probably know Eddie Murphy.
Yes, of
So
course.
Eddie Murphy did a famous show called Delirious. It was one of his first huge concert that made him like the famous comedian that he is. Aside from just Eddie Murphy, Saturday Night Live, and movies. And in that, he imitated Mr. T, another old time guy from the '80s. Rocky 3. He imitated Mr. T saying that to somebody, like pretending if he was homosexual, that's what he'd be like. He'd say, "You got cute G. You look good in those jeans." So I just think he's a Gator. I think you're brilliant, man. You're super funny, and I appreciate it, man. You got me all over the internet, so that's good stuff for me.
If you want to laugh at some of Gator's clips, just watch the Jake Asman show.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, his work is the finest there. The intro videos, the backgrounds. I mean, Gator is a legend.
yeah.
NY Jets super fan. I like Wilson, Roman Wilson. We were talking about him earlier. Do you like McConkey?
I absolutely love Lad McConkey. Thanks for reminding me of that. We forgot we said Robin Wilson. Lad McConkey was a guy I was kind of on the fence for one reason. I liked this film, but I'm strongly influenced by other people that I've come to respect. So I respect Green Bean a lot, and I respect Dom C a lot. Now, before
Yes.
this week, Dom C was not high on McConkey, and Green Bean was. So I was kind of stuck in the middle. I like this film, but honestly, of all the film that I watched, the All 22, the hardest or the one I'm learning, the one that I have the most growth and area to grow, is evaluating wide receivers. And for the first time, I was able to watch, instead of watching the film, watching live. Lad McConkey is going to be an absolute superstar. He is going to
Wow.
be. I predict. He will have a streak, barring injury, where he will go 5 to 7 seasons with 100 receptions or more for 5 to 6 consecutive seasons.
Wow, you're big on McConkey. You'd like the Jets to take a swing at him?
If we can somehow get a second round pick, whether, and I know it's taboo to talk about, but if instead of losing a guy like Bryce Huff for free, if we manage to squeeze a second round pick out of
That's what I
him,
was gonna ask.
right, and somehow Lad McConkey is there because I think his stock is going up. But if there's a way to swing it and we can get Lad McConkey, he would be the perfect complement to Garrett Wilson in my mind, because you
All right,
have Garrett. Yeah, so it would be just because you have Garrett Wilson with the athleticism and the route running and the speed and the acceleration. And then Lad McConkey, more than anything else, McConkey's game is about just intelligence, football IQ. This kid, I don't know how defenses are going to stop him with the zone, because he will find every little seam that's there in that zone. He will pick it apart.
So I have a question for you. Let's say we tag Bryce Huff. We tag him $22.5 million, and then we have you're Joe Douglas right now. You have the option. We either tag Bryce Huff to the $22.5 million. We keep him. He plays this season, and then he's a free agent going into 2025. Would you do that, or would you maybe tag him to the $22.5 million and then deal him for one of those second round picks?
See, I don't think we have a choice. I think we would have to deal him. And the reason I say that is, as much as I love Huff and as much as I know it's going to pain us to lose him, we have such stronger needs. So having McDonald coming in, having JJ emerging as a superstar guy, having John Franklin Myers, having these other guys, it's a great luxury to have Bryce Huff. It would be a great luxury. And I would love to have it, and it would definitely help our defense be even more fierce. When you have the problems our offensive line has had for the past 2 years,
Yes.
I just don't think we have the cap space and the money to pay $22 million for a luxury when we have the necessity of what's going on our offensive line, or a second weapon to complement Garrett Wilson.
I agree. Rosenblatt was saying that last night. I mean, defensive line, like, it would be nice to keep Huff, but he's not a priority right now, like wide receiver 2 is, or any other positions out there. NY Jets superfan. We need a solid defensive tackle in the draft. Jeremy, how did the defensive tackles look at Senior Bowl practice?
They look great. It looks like we're going to have a lot of options. This is one of those, and defensive tackle is the perfect pick for the 4th round. We got 2 4th-round picks, 107 and 110. Unless something freaky happened again, it's so hard to predict, right? We don't know. Maybe Joe Douglas takes a pick from next year, combines it with some of these comp picks, and somehow moves us up because there's a guy he loves, and there are a couple, like, obviously guys that stand out. Obviously, not that we could get him, but Sweat is just, he's outrageous. There are a lot of guys that are 3-tech that would be perfect right next to Quinnen Williams, that to replace, and fill in to be that run-stopping guy, that guy we need on the early downs to help against the run. There are a bunch of guys. Fiske is out there. I think it's Fisk. There's a few guys that played really well. That was something we were really pleased with. On both teams, we saw a lot of good defensive tackle play. And that was what I asked Coach Ulbrich
Yes, in the press
when I got a
conference.
hold of him. And I think if you look at the delay in his face, I think it said it all. I think there's some
I
guys.
know when you said, what was the? Do you think who are the defensive tackles that you look at that you could pair with Quinnen and come in right away? And then he took a nice little pause and he's like, I'm not ready to say anything, but, like, I don't know. I feel like the Jets community would have went, like, crazy if he said, like, one name. I don't know.
He definitely, because what happened was everybody else was asking him questions about the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and you kind of switched it up.
I came in and gave him a Rich Cimini question, right? I didn't have the same intention as Rich Cimini. Rich Cimini might have asked him that question to get an answer to say, oh look, like the Jets are going to bring back these two guys, and like he's a master at making it into more, even more. I was really not. I wasn't trying to catch him or trick him. I really was just trying to genuinely, as a Jet fan, just like you, I really genuinely wanted to know: is there a guy you think that could come in and play with Quinnen right now? No development, but come in and help this team and help this defense.
I mean, it's a very valid question. I think um he's gonna go in the first round. He can rush a little, but the linebacker Latu out of
Mhm.
UCLA, I think I think he's very, very solid. Definitely in the first round though. You were there for the matchup against Fawaga when Fawaga just shut him down though.
Yeah.
That was nice. I think you think Joe Alt to the Jets is completely out of the picture, right?
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. The combines are still to come. Maybe he
I mean,
skips them. Maybe he skips them.
I don't
And
know.
so,
I don't see him getting past the Titans. I just
yeah,
don't.
it's probably less than I don't know. Maybe there's like a 3%. It's like I agree with you. I mean, it's very unlikely, but it's not like we haven't seen it happen in the past. You don't know what's going to happen at the combine. There's still a lot of time. Fuaga could stay on the rise. Fashanu could come in and just crush it in the combines. Like we've seen it happen. We're still, February 1st, February 2nd. We're early. But no, I mean, I think that when we won that game against the Commanders, I think we pretty much sealed our fate that Joe Alt's not going to be a Jet.
I agree. I have a question. Were you rooting for a tank during the season or no?
Yes and no. I was taking, I am incapable of rooting for this team to perform badly.
That
Like
that's my whole point.
I just can't do it because it's too important. Like, what am I going to do? Root against Ruckert? I love Jeremy Ruckert. I'm hoping for
Mm.
this kid to explode as a star. I think he's the most underutilized player on the team. There's no way if a pass is thrown to him, I'm rooting for him to drop it. There's just no way. So,
I,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I was very torn because it was like, how can I root for them to play well but somehow still lose the game? If there was, so to me it was kind of like this weird win-win lose-lose situation.
That was my whole thought process. I was like in the Patriots game. We win, we break that streak with the Patriots. We lose, unfortunately we keep the streak going, but that ups our draft stock. So it was like kind of in between, but the Commanders game was a weird one. I was actually at that game. Shout out to Jake Asman for hooking me up with some seats, but it was very interesting because we went up huge, big time. I think it was 28 nothing or 28 to 3 or something. And then we come out and we end up literally going down, and then Greg the Leg has to come out and win us the game. I mean, that's unacceptable. I was fine with it though because Brownlee had a touchdown, which I liked,
Mm.
and Brees had an incredible game on the ground and receiving. So I looked at that game as a good game.
Yeah. I mean, look, the only thing I didn't like about it, there was one thing I didn't like about it was and I've made videos and you may have seen them that say this. I think if you're going to use quotes and you're going to give yourself team, if you're going to define your team by using these sayings, these slogans, these quotes, you have to back it up. And one of the things that Salah said since he got here was all gas, no brakes. And that's what annoyed me about that Washington game is that we finally got this lead and then they took their foot off the gas.
Yes, agree.
And that annoys me because they've gotten so few opportunities to really run it up and give us that win. Like, what a horrible way to give us a win, right? When the draft, by winning, we hurt our draft stock. So at least the least they could have done is kept going, won that game 48-10 or something, and given us just an amazing win where we felt great about it instead of blowing the lead and then, making us feel bad about it first, and then it's just salvaging a win. So I was a little annoyed at that. That bothered me. But at the end of the day, it's nice to have a field goal kicker that can actually kick in the clutch. I will say that.
I agree. Two things. When Greg the Leg was lining up for that kick, it was a lose-lose situation for the Jets fans. So let's look at it. We win. They're like, yeah, you were up all those points and now you just hurt our draft stock. We lose. Oh my god, this team just blew a 21-28 point lead or whatever it was. So once we went down in that game, it was a lose-lose. It like Jets fans weren't going to be happy if we won and weren't going to be happy if we lost.
Absolutely, absolutely. They took the joy out of it by giving up that lead.
I agree. All right, now before we let Jeremy go, we're going to pull up the clip of Dom C talking to Tyrese Fuaga at the
Yes.
Senior Bowl. Great interview from Dom C. So let me pull that up real quick.
Dom C was talking Jets here with right tackle stud Tyrese Fuaga. How's it feel to have the pads back on, man?
Feels good. Just trying to knock that rust off again. It's been a while, so yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, we know the plan around you is dominant in the run game. You're showing up here both ends of it. Your pass sets are good. You have some great reps against Lockton as well. What's the one thing you want to show all the stats, all the fans, and all the coaches here that you have improved from the season that until now?
Yeah, I just want to show I'm a well-balanced player, not just one side of the ball and one side too aggressive or anything. But yes, sir. Just trying to be able to show everybody I'm not just one side, not just a run blocker. So yes, sir.
And you feel comfortable playing the left, or you think you're just at right tackle?
Right now, probably just right, but trying to get the left reps in too.
Well, listen, Jets, I know are looking at you, and we hope to have you on our team.
Yeah.
You heard it. He wants to be a two-way kind of player. And I think that can kind of be compared to, I know it's two different sides of the ball, but like Bryce Huff said, going into that Week 18 game, he said he's gonna try to become more of a two-way player. That's why I think it could, like Bryce Huff, he's great against the pass, struggled against the run, and he's gonna work on the run. And then going back to Fuaga, different side of the ball, obviously, but I think Fuaga is great for depth though, because if we can get him to play both tackle, like both right and left tackle, I think that would be a huge advantage. If you look at Alder Fashanu, they only really are solid on the left side, which I find interesting. And then we got Gator. Do you think the Jets should draft a developmental quarterback this year in the later rounds or next year in the first or the second? Cheers, Gator.
I think that they have to get. I think I'm fine with them doing I'm fine with them getting a developmental quarterback, but that will not be our QB2. We absolutely number one first priority is get a veteran quarterback. So we have to have a veteran quarterback like a Jacoby Brissett, whoever it is. I don't care, but like a proven, solid, strong backup quarterback that we can trust if they come in for a few games, can hold their own and keep our offense competent. And then if they want it for a QB3, get a developmental quarterback. I'm all about it.
I agree. I think day 4, definitely. I'd take 3. I mean, like round 4 to 6. I think it's crazy if the Jets don't go a quarterback in that within that round. We have another 4th round pick. Someone that really catches my eye, who I don't know if will 100% be available in the 4th, is Blake Corum, running back out of Michigan, and maybe Donovan Edwards, the other running back out of Michigan. They're supposed to go in similar spots. I think they're very solid guys, but the Jets are going to need to add another running back going into 2024 due to I don't really think I think Izzy's a solid running back, but I don't think he can carry an RB2 load going into his second year in the league.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I love Blake Corum. I think he's not. I love that he's not afraid of contact. I love his aggressiveness. He hits the line hard. I really like that, and he also has the talent to get away to escape if he's dangerous in space. He'd be a great 4th round pick.
I agree. Who are some? Do you think Would you rule out the possibility of Derrick Henry to the Jets? I know what they're saying; it's very slim, but we did just bring in Tony Dews, his assistant coach with the Titans. We do have Keith Carter. Would you rule that out or no?
It's all about to me. It's really about what's the expected salary, right? It's. I mean, I think with the Jets right
Yes.
now, I think with the Jets, it's all about the money. So if he's going to still demands a pretty big, 2-digit kind of contract, it's going to be hard to justify and do because running back is an easier position to get a backup running back. And the other thing is Henry willing to come in and have that play that role yet? Has he gotten
Yeah.
to that point where he's accepted that role?
You know what? I like J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins would be a great guy. I mean, he's banged up, but I feel like he can come in on like a 1, maybe 2-year deal and cheap and just kind of chip away. I don't know. I think we thought Dalvin Cook was gonna be that guy who I mean I like Dalvin Cook as a safety net personally. I thought it was a very solid signing because if Brees wasn't at full strength, which he obviously was, from the ACL injury, we have a veteran who can kind of lead this team. That's why I liked the Dalvin Cook signing, but he didn't really end up what we thought he would end up to be. But back to the drawing board. I mean, running back. We need a tight end 3. I think you saw him as a June 1 cut. We need a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 3. We need a backup quarterback. I mean, the whole offensive side of the ball. We need at least 2 new starting offensive linemen, probably 3. I mean, literally every position on the offense needs upgrades. Then if you look at the defense, one position I think really, really needs an upgrade is safety. I mean, we only have Ashton Davis and Tony Adams under contract going into 2024. That leaves Chuck Clark and Jordan Whitehead not signed. I personally think we bring back Chuck Clark, and I think we let Jordan Whitehead walk. I really want to see what Chuck Clark can do. Maybe a 1-year, $5-6 million deal.
Yeah, well, after the injury, I think he's going to either be willing to sign, a very reasonable deal that guarantees him a couple of years, or he might want to do a prove it year deal, a 1-year prove it deal. But I think Clark would be a good decision. I think that I think the team likes Whitehead more than the fans do.
I,
That's
th-
what I
I
see.
yeah, there's so many guys I think the team really like. CJ Mosley. I was never too low on Mosley, but a lot of people were. I think he's a leader. Yeah, I think he's a leader on that team. I think that's why we keep him. I think Whitehead has shows flashes, but not too big on him. NY Jets superfan Ashton Davis is a free agent. I think Ashton Davis is a free agent. That was my bad. And then on the other safety, Clark tore his ACL pass. He did tear his ACL, but I mean, we got him for a 7th-round pick. I don't think a 1-year, $4 million deal can hurt. And we have so much cap room to clear, and then we'll have enough room. Would you be interested in a Ridley type of guy for wide receiver too?
Sure. I mean, the one thing you say about Clark that's also very sensible. What you're saying is, you're talking about 4 million. Let's say I just want to go back to that for a second. The key thing that you're saying is 1 year, and that's the key thing.
Yes.
The part of our salary cap that's not as clean as everybody thinks is 2025, 2026, when we're going to have to deal with the Rodgers money, and we're going to have to deal with re-signing a lot of players that we love and that we're not going to want to lose and that we're going to want to retain. As far as like a Ridley, that's the same kind of answer that I would give you for Clark. We can't guarantee him multiple years, and he's done things that kind of would make me weary of that. But if they sign Ridley for a 2-year deal where 70% of the contract is guaranteed, for the 2 years, so you could cut him into a post June cut if he's a disaster and only have him for 1 year, I would be okay with that. I think Ridley has a ton of juice left, and especially with Garrett Wilson taking up a lot of the attention, and having a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and a running back like Brees Hall that's going to keep defenders in the box, I think Ridley could be a very potent weapon.
I think Ridley would be a solid wide receiver too. I also think drafting a guy would not be terrible. I'm not too big on the first round, but you have McLee Corley, you have Jacob Cowan, you have Brendan Rice. Who else is there? You have come to me.
What's the guy? Jalen, forgetting his last name. The kid from Polk, Jalen Polk.
Yes, that's who it was. He's a very solid option, but not too big in the first round. I think later rounds would kind of be the way to go. Speaking of like that pass catcher, I wouldn't call it a wide receiver too, but maybe a tight end. Would you rule out Brock Bowers to the Jets?
I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't be happy with it.
You wouldn't? So a lot of Jets fans, from what I'm hearing, wouldn't be happy.
I would love him, and I would hope that he turns out into a great superstar. But I unless we make magic in free agency, I don't understand how we could do it.
I agree. I don't think tight end's a need, but I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of Joe Caporoso and Connor Rogers talking about the possibility of Brock Bowers to the Jets.
There's going to be some mocks that give the Jets Bowers at 10 because they could use that kind of dynamic
and
playmaker.
They're not idiots.
And he seems to be that. I mean, you tell me. He seems to be like, I don't want to use the word generational, but seems to be like a uniquely special like tight end prospect.
You know, I look at Bowers, right, who right now for me is my 7th ranked player in the draft and easily playmaker number 3. It's just Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and then him. I think he's a better prospect than Rome Odunze, and I don't know if anybody will agree with that, but I don't care. I don't think it's close. I really think Bowers' floor is George Kittle, and that is insane to say. Kittle was also 24 when he was drafted. Brock Bowers just turned 21 in December.
Young prospects. I love that.
He's just different. I have this conversation with you.
Wow. I don't know. I'm not too big on Bowers. I would personally take Odunze over Bowers if I had to make that choice. I get it. Georgia uses him. He's the fullback, wide receiver. When I look at Brock Bowers, he reminds me if Tyler Conklin was fast. I think Tyler Conklin has a very solid skill set. I think he's a great pass catcher, and I can honestly live with him being a tight end 1, personally.
Yeah, I think we're okay in the position now. Again, with me. It's nothing against Bowers as a weapon. I think Bowers might be. I mean, I think it's a real stretch to say that somebody's floor is Kittle. I think that's kind of. I'm not going to say anything. I think I just don't agree with that. I would never say that about any player. I would never pick a potential Hall of Fame player and say that was somebody else's floor. But what I will say is, and if I was a general manager of a team, if I was JD, I would write a note to myself that says, the weapons mean nothing if you can't block.
Agreed.
To remind myself that no matter how tempting it is, what good is it if we don't have an offensive line? Because you're not only going to shut down the ability for Rodgers to get these playmakers the ball and limit the way you can get them the ball, but you're going to take Brees Hall out of the game too. So it's just too important. We have to have an offensive line.
I agree. I honestly can't argue that. I definitely agree. A lot of it's coaching personally. I mean, the Chiefs, I'm gonna look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a very, very talented team. They have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, obviously, but a lot of it's coaching. If you look at that team, like Andy Reid, I think that team is just very, very well coached.
I agree. He's might be the best. He might. I say might. It's crazy to say might. I mean, I should probably use the word is. Like, he is the best coach in the NFL.
I agree. Jeremy, thank you for joining us. Any final thoughts?
It was an absolute pleasure to be here. I really enjoy it, really appreciate it. And you know what, Connor? Don't let the negativity get to you. I'm not letting it get to me. We have some needs like any other team, but we also have a lot of strengths and a lot of good things to be excited about. So let's just go get them and let's hope for the best and be great fans and cheer for our team.
I agree. Jeremy, thank you for joining us. And big shout out to Mr. Gator. Gator hooking me up with the logo in the background. Much appreciated. As always, thank you guys for watching at JETS Jets.